All right, welcome to the Championship Mindset Podcast. You can see the sign right behind me, right? Mindset is everything. And it is, because the difference between a silver and a gold can be just a thought. This podcast is for athletes, coaches, parents, CEOs, anyone ready to elevate their game in their life. Okay. You'll hear real stories from real people sharing struggles they've faced and the mindset tools that kept them moving forward. And and I start with athletes as young as 10 years old because why wait until later, if ever, to master the mental game? Our children are our future. I'm Spencer Senn, founder of Freedom and Healing Championship Mindset and the I.G.O.A.T mental method, where I blend hypnosis, neurolinguistics to upgrade the unconscious mind, clear out the negative programming, and install confidence, resilience, drive. I call it the code of greatness. My own sports career ended instantly with an injury, and my life spiraled out of control. Addictions, career, relationship problems, till years later, God placed top mindset mentors right in my path who not only helped heal me, they trained me to take back control of my mind and manage my emotional states in any situation. Now I help others do the same. And this podcast is part of that calling to change lives. Today's guest, Marvin Booker, former NFL edge rusher with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now he's in the rare club of people who can bench press you, sell you insurance, fix your finances before lunch. He's lived through injuries, setbacks, breakthroughs, and built a life that inspires on and off the field. Marvin, it's great to welcome you to the show. How are you, man?
I'm feeling good, feeling great. How about you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm excited to have you on. We've had a lengthy conversations leading up to this, and it's been a lot of fun learning about you and your experiences in life. And now it's time to be real and raw for people to really understand who you are, how you got where you are, what you do. Okay, so Marvin, you grew up. You shared with me in Middlesex, New Jersey, right? A place that really churns out more athletes than anywhere else. I think you told me in this country, maybe even in the world. It's like a factory. It sounds like you're in. You talked about when we first talked that your mom gave you a lot of stuff, a lot of support, pride, identity, direction early on in life. And what did those lessons? How did she really help you through grade school, high school, and what did that teach you before you went into college, and how did that shape your path in sports?
Yeah, so one correction. I did grow up in Middlesex, New Jersey. I did K through 6 there. But the town that you're really talking about is called Piscataway, New Jersey.
I gotcha.
That's really my hometown. That's really my family. That's really where my support system and my foundation was really like strong there. But to backtrack, you know, born and raised in New Jersey, obviously. We did live in Middlesex, New Jersey, which was a predominantly white town at the time.
Yeah.
Had one elementary school, one middle school, one high school. It was me and my sister. My sister's 5 years older than me. Um, at that time, between all three schools, it had to be less than 10 black kids in all three schools.
Okay.
Right. So if anybody knows anything about New Jersey, it is a very diverse state, right? And it's very tight knit. Everything's compact. So even though we were living in Middlesex, my mother was from Union County, the Essex County area. My father lived in the Essex County area in East Orange. That's where I was born.
Okay.
So she always had us in school in Middlesex, but we went to different areas, to different functions and cultural and diverse functions and things like that. But in the household, my mother was very spiritual, very religious. So,
Okay.
we came up in Islam, right? We came up in Islam. She taught us a lot about our spirituality, but even though she brought us up in Islam, we still read the Quran and we read the Bible too. She would like to
Okay.
know a lot about information and how it exchanges and what the differences were. So we never shunned anything. My father was Christian as well, so we never shunned anything, but she was very informative about the word of God. very informative
Awesome.
about spirituality. She would put me in front of different documentaries like Gil Noble Like It Is, watching Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. It was important for me to view prominent African-American leaders of this country, to know about ourselves and our history, especially African culture, but also to know how society will respond to people that are like this, people that are speaking their truth, people that are advocates for the African-American community. So at a young age, having that information and then walking around in a predominantly white neighborhood, it was easy for me to see racism is sneaky, so it's easy to see it was easy for me to identify and see certain things and certain responses. There were some families that with the kids that I played with that were, they were cool. Everything was good. The parents accepted me, cool. But then there were certain times where, no, you can't play with Marvin. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that. And there was no apparent reason why. But then when you have the information in the background, you know why, right? So it was.
So you were able to adjust to it and understand it to be able to move through it, or?
Right. Yeah, I was able to adjust to it and understand it, but it still frustrated me at times because there's no real reason why that happens, right? Racism is just a high level of ignorance. There's no real reason for it.
Yeah, right? And it sounds like the foundation from your mom was, not just open-minded, but balance, and then understanding, the everything around you, and then being able to adjust to it.
Absolutely.
Whether you agreed with it or not. And it sounds like, what I'm hearing you saying, she did build a foundation between right and wrong, open mind, balance, all of that stuff. Am I hearing that right?
No, you are hearing that right. And then once we transitioned, she, kudos to her, she went back to school to finish her degree at Rutgers. So once we transferred to Piscataway, New Jersey, that's when I had more of a diverse experience. Piscataway is like, I appreciate it at the time, but even leaving Piscataway, you appreciate it even more. There was no racial percentage over 33%. You had Black, white, Indian, Spanish, Filipino, all over the place, right? So I had friends of all different races. And that's where I really dived into more sports and really got acclimated with football, for sure.
Awesome. Well, that in that foundation, it sounds like it carried you forward, right? Sure. And elevated you, because like you started and then you said all of that, and then you moved into this completely more diverse scenario, not just in living, but different school and all these different nationalities that you interacted with. I'm sure that was challenging at times, but at the same time, you probably were unaware of what that was really doing for you at that early age. So, and that foundation then carried you forward into high school. Did you predominantly play football, or was it football, basketball, or was it multiple sports, or one?
It was football, basketball, track.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I did in high school. And then I think it was after my junior year, I started just focusing strictly on football.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So then as that progressed, how did it come about? Getting to be able to end up going to Rutgers. Okay. Were you in Rutgers? That's a whole different environment where other challenges come into play. And I'm already starting to see the stepping stones in your story.
I think so. At a young age, my sister, to me, she's a genius, right? She was always, excuse me. So she's 5 years older than me. So going through grade school, there were teachers always saying, "Oh, I know you're going to get straight A's because you're Keisha's little brother." I'm like, I used to hear it all the time. I'm like, okay, right? I'm like, I know I'm smart too. I know I'm smart. My sister's doing, when we were younger, she's doing like multiplication tables and first grade flashcards in the corner and reading books and stuff just doing it by herself and marking her if she's getting them right or wrong, like crying if she gets an A- or a B+ or something. Like that's the type of student she was, right?
She was that one where you were the football.
Well, no, I wasn't. It wasn't. Football didn't come till later while I was really engaged like that. So growing up, I guess it was kind of like, I don't want to be known as her little brother. So the funny thing is, I used to not get good grades on purpose so they wouldn't say that, right? There was a point in time I had a little chunk of that, right?
Yeah.
But fast forward to like maybe 13, 14 years old, a little bit. I mean, growing up, there were certain things that were going on that I didn't like. You know, I would ask certain questions, you know, to my family, and, you know, I wouldn't get the answers that I needed to get, right?
Give us an example. Do you have an example?
Well, you know, my mom and my father are separated. They were separated at a young age, right? So I remember us living together.
Okay.
And then I remember us not living together. So I was very aware of that, right? So I'm like, okay, why is this happening? I would ask certain questions, and there were no real answers to help me emotionally process what the situation was. And this is
adapt.
Right, and adapt to that. So there came a point in time in my progress where I had to start making my own decisions mentally to be able to adapt to the situation, whether it was right, wrong, whether it was accurate or not. Whatever I processed from what was going on around me, I would just process it. I would ask, okay, I'm not getting the answers that I need. I might be emotional about it. I'll go to my dad. I'm going to ask, okay, I'm not getting the answers I need. I might be emotional about it. And from a young age, I got tired of being emotional about it.
Yeah.
Right. So that also mixed in with, you know, starting to work out at 6 years old.
Okay.
Right? And that happened because I would see my older brother. He was a track star. He was top 3 in the nation for the 55. He eventually went off to go run track for TCU, eventually went off to run in the Olympics in Sydney, right? But at a young age, he's 8 years older than me. I would see him in the living room doing push-ups. I mean, it would look like he was doing push-ups for like 3 minutes straight. Sit-ups, different stuff, right? And every time I would see him do something for a certain period of time, I would see him do this. Then he'll go back and do a whole nother clip. And I'm like, I'm young, I'm watching him. I'm like, that's crazy. You know, as a little girl, you want to mess with him. He straighten you out a little bit. So I go back home to my mom, I'm like, he's not going to be straightening me out like that no more. I try to do what he was doing. You know what I'm saying? So as a young age, I'm doing the push-ups, I'm doing the sit-ups, and I might be doing, I'm 6, I'm young, so I might be doing 5 or something, 4 or 5. And then I would just naturally do that big breath that I saw my brother do.
Without even understanding it.
Without understanding it, right? So I realized that how it connected for me was I was realizing that he was breathing through pain. That's the way you embrace pain. You let the tension come through your breath. Right.
And like we were talking before the show, you're moving energy too. You're releasing the garbage, and your intention and your focus through your breath resets neurology and everything, and just starts directing forward, not being stuck in that pain or fear or anything.
Right. So I believe that connection of working out like that at a young age, learning that concept, not really knowing what it is, but learning that concept, right, mixed with me not getting that emotional need that I needed from the answers of why this is happening around me in my environment, progressed me to always want to challenge myself and embrace the pain, whether it be emotionally, whether it be physically, whether it be whatever. So growing up, whether it be through Middlesex, that was one thing that kind of helped me get through the racial stuff, right? Or help me get through the competing in different sports. Okay, that's cool. I'm going to beat you in this sport. I'm going to beat you in this race. I'm going to go sign for roller hockey because you think that we're not supposed to even be playing hockey, right? Stuff like that.
Man, you're talking some real huge key things here, man. I mean, embracing challenge, embracing stuff outside of comfort zone, embracing these things instead of letting the anxiety and all this other crap determine what direction we don't go. That's huge stuff. That's a big piece that most people are missing, including the breathing and the energy, like we're talking. Go ahead, keep going, man. Good stuff.
That progressed through middle school, that progressed through high school, and I think there was a point where something switched where it was like I didn't. There were opportunities around me. I'll say it like this: there were opportunities around me to get into some other shit.
Sure,
Right.
there always is, right?
Right. There's opportunities for me around to get into some other shit. So around that opportunity, because of how I was feeling, now I was a little bit more aggressive. Now I was feeling a little bit more pissed off sometimes, right? Waking up on the wrong side of the bed. I'm a little bit angry, but I always had enough respect for my mother as a single parent not to put myself in a situation that was going to jeopardize our whole situation as a family.
Going back to that foundation.
Right. So it was always enough respect because of how she raised me. I'm not going to go out and start, selling drugs and getting into the street and stuff like that. There was always a certain level of respect inside of me. Even if it wasn't that those were the actions that I wanted to do, but sometimes the energy that you might be carrying might be connected to the actions of the people that are doing that.
That's right.
You might be able to identify with certain emotions and feelings and habits that you might have with people who have that in them, and they might be associated with those extra things, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And then that off energy, like you see in today's world, people are just wanting stuff. If they're in a bad mental state and then they want stuff, that can cause people to go in the wrong direction. And now they're completely out of their identity. They're out of their own energy. They're off their true self. And now we start getting influenced by all this other programming garbage.
Right.
Now it can be years till they come back to this, if ever.
Right. So, I was aware of what was going on, even though I might have been moving and leaning in certain directions and hanging with certain people. I always had a strong sense of self, right? I always had a strong sense of self. And I knew that around that time where I was starting to lean a little bit harder, there were some of my teammates, newly found teammates, and some coaches that kind of grabbed me up. They may have known this was going on. They might not have known this was going on. It could have been divine intervention, but I started to lean towards that. And I started to see that football was more of an extension of what was already planted inside of me, right?
For sure.
I was 100. Well, my freshman year, I started really banging, like really throwing my body around the sport of football. And the freshman field was right next to the varsity field, and you had guys like Malcolm Jenkins out there. That's, star player for the Eagles, right? Super Bowl. I think he's a Super Bowl champ as well. You had Kyle Wilson out there. He was a first-round draft pick out of Boise State to go to the Jets, right? You had Anthony Davis out there. There's got a lot of guys out there that was playing out of a public school that was just out there rocking and competing. Anthony Davis, the first-round draft pick, 2011 for the 49ers, right? So you had these guys out there, we're just rocking and playing. And Piscataway had a great culture. They had a great culture. One of those where underclassmen don't speak. The coaches, you one of those players, like the head coach talks to you. Shout out to Coach Dan Higgins. He just got inducted to the Hall of Fame, High School Hall of Fame in New Jersey. Shout out to the whole coaching staff, John Bazell, Coach Ciro, Coach Thompson, all those guys, everybody. So they had a great coaching staff, because another thing is that they all played together in high school. They all went to Piscataway High School too. So it was some deep-rooted culture there that I gravitated towards. And then what it takes to play the game in order to I like the fact of embracing that pain, running, pushing myself physically, throwing my body around, being vocal. I like that. And then my sophomore year, I was 175 pounds, playing defensive end, going against Anthony Davis every day, who's 6'5", 360 pounds, who can dunk a basketball with two hands, right? But once the coaches saw how adamant I was about it, they were like, hey, if you really want to do this later on down the line, after my junior year, they say, if you really want to do this and go play D1, you're going to have to pick up some weight. You can't be this small to get D1 scholarship.
For sure.
The things that it took, the discipline that it took to do the weightlifting, to do all the other stuff, that's what kind of the preparation for the game is what attracted me to it.
Yeah.
And then things just kind of took off after that.
For sure. And then as you moved into Rutgers, talk about that, because I mean, then you're going to from here to a whole different culture, transition, level, challenges, all of that stuff. How did you propel yourself into that, and how did you navigate all that stuff?
There's a couple different pieces. Now that I've never really slowed down to think about it, but there was a couple different pieces. So number one, I think it was also the relationship. So at that time, we had a head coach at a Rutgers. I went to Rutgers 2008 to 2012. So at that time, the head coach saw that a lot of talent from New Jersey was leaving to go to different schools and then making it to the NFL. So his mantra at the time was, we need to keep the talent in the state.
Okay.
So I know that, going to a lot of different camps, scout.com, Rivals, Nike camps, Chuck Mound camps back in the day. Going to the Governor's Bowl, which is the all-state players, the best in New Jersey, plays the best in New York. I met some of my future teammates that were at Rutgers, that were committed to Rutgers. Okay. And I remember at that game, we made a pact. We made a pact that we were going to go through Rutgers together, start Rutgers, finish together, and we were going to bring a Big East championship to Rutgers, right? So coming into Rutgers, that was one thing. So it was the relationships that we had. Shout out to, guys like Eric LeGrand, Tim Wright, Brandon Jones, Mohamed Sanu. Those are all guys that I was playing with in that All-Star game. Yeah. So coming into Rutgers, we didn't know what the hell we were getting into. For sure, we didn't know what the hell we were getting into. But when we got in there, it was a whole different culture. It was a whole different culture than from what I came from. It was more of somewhat of a dictatorship with the head coach that we had, right? But even though he was really tough on us, it panned out well, right? In certain areas, certain things I agree with the coaching, certain things I didn't agree with the coaching, because some of it, now you look back at it, that wasn't coaching, right? Yeah. That was extra stuff. You see what I'm saying? But yeah, it was coming into Rutgers was, just dog work. It was dog work. I remember we lost our championship game. Here's a piece for you. My junior year in high school, we had 2 All-Americans on the team, on our high school team. Okay. We lost first round playoffs, and we lost to our rival game on a Thanksgiving game. That might have been the first time Piscataway lost first round playoffs in a long, long, long time. And we had a really good team. After that game, I literally snapped, right? I snapped. I was just feeling some type of way. I was talking to the team, but it was in a way where they gravitated to the message that I was giving, right? And I said that we are going to go make it to the championship next year. We are going to go make it to the championship next year. And I remember I stopped running track. I stopped playing basketball. This is the first time I felt like I was quitting, but I know I wasn't quitting. That was a hard decision because I stopped playing that game like that. But I remember having a conversation with the coach. I remember I had a conversation with the guidance counselor, seeing how I can replace my lunch with the extra lift in gym and get my teachers to sign off to eat lunch in the back of the class before lunch. Like, I was very adamant about making sure that I followed through and doing what I said I was going to do and leading my team to do what I said I was going to do.
And I was going to say, and at the same time, embracing leadership fully.
I was just doing what I said I was going to do. I didn't think about all that at that time. I wasn't trying to be anything. I was just doing what instinctively came to me at that time. You see what I'm saying? But the reason why I'm saying this is because push forward, we went 11-0. Went 11-0. Had a great year. We went to the championship at Rutgers Stadium, and we lost. And I remember I beat myself up because it hit me. I said, "You told your team we were going to go to the championship, not we were going to win."
There you go. Intention is everything.
Right. So that always played with me. So coming in as a freshman, I didn't cross 200 pounds until the end of my freshman camp or something like that. So they were like, "Oh, you're undersized. You know, we're gonna try to do this here and try to do that here. So be it." But every time we came into that game field to practice, I felt like I was gonna make every upperclassman feel me. I didn't care who you were, what you did, I don't care. I don't care how much you bench in the weight room. I don't care about none of that. We're gonna get after it.
You were mentally there.
Yeah, I was mentally there. Yeah, I was mentally there. I was mentally there for sure. But that ended up leading to me not being able to redshirt. I didn't redshirt me. So it was I believe it was 3 of us out of 15 or 18 people that came in my class. It was me, Eric LeGrand. Shout out to Eric LeGrand. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that name, but if you Google Eric LeGrand, he has a huge, great story. Amazing man. I love him. That's my brother. I think Art Force. I think those are the 3 people that didn't redshirt that year. And I think the coaches saw that hard work, that tenacity, that drive in me, and they wanted to see what it looked like on the field. And that was my entry point to getting started at Rutgers.
Awesome, man. So, I mean, and of course, I mean, the toughest opponent, right? Isn't any coach, isn't any culture system so far. It was really you, right? But it sounds like you've really navigated all of that very well from that foundational piece. I mean, as you've been talking, I mean, there's so many things that you've been blessed with, starting with that foundation, and it just kept building. You know what I mean? And we're never going to not have challenges. So I appreciate you sharing all of this, man. And then if we could take it further, I mean, you had, injuries and resilience. And then, however you want to navigate through this with the injuries. And then we talked at length. Like I said, we could talk for hours.
Yeah.
But, then that accident, it became more than a recovery in a car accident. So however you want to navigate that stuff, go for it, man, because it's good stuff.
Yeah. I mean, you're jumping from years and years of process. And it's crazy because until we had this, there have been different times where I'm having conversations and, a wise man once told me, Marvin, you're the only person at this time I was 31. You're the only person that lived every second of the 31 years you've been on this earth. You know your life better than anybody else. And it's not until you sit down and actually open up and talk about it where you realize all the intricacies of it. And I think we just talked about it. Like I would sit down and be talking, people be like, like, huh? What? Like, and you don't realize what you're moving through, what you're growing through, what you're going through until you sit down and you talk about it with somebody, you see how they respond to it, and then makes you sit back and think like, oh, damn, that shit did.
Giving me tingles again, man. It's happening again.
That's what it is. Like, I don't know any other way. So
like we talked before, it's that we don't realize until we realize. Like for me too, and my injuries and all the challenges I've overcome, addiction and all this stuff, until I really started sharing it, I didn't get to that next level of growth. That energy needed to transfer. Other people needed to hear it, because them going, wow, man, now I understand. And they start applying it to them, and they start moving energy and shifting and growing. And it all starts happening together. We miss this part of life unless we get an opportunity to talk like this,
Yeah, no, you're right. So I do appreciate the opportunity and the relationship, having these conversations, because it is healthy. And I know people will benefit from it one way, shape, or form, because it's happening as we speak.
That's right.
Athletes, not athletes, employees, people going into entrepreneurship, it's all over the place. Adversity lives all over the place,
Well, and for people watching this or listening to it, I guarantee you they feel it.
Yeah.
Anyone watching right now or later, it doesn't matter whether it's a replay, they're going to have a reaction to it. I invite everyone to embrace it and then transfer it into their own energy and go further.
Yeah. So just to go back to your question, so freshman year, I'm playing 11 out of 13 games my freshman year on special teams. I remember, I think the first So it was my freshman camp, freshman season, and then spring ball. Between those 3 phases, I think I came in at playing one linebacker position. I'm learning it. I'm getting better. I feel like I'm on the heels of getting a starting role. And whether it be culture, whether it be, you know, somebody feeling a certain type of way about me and how I carry myself, or whatever X factor it is, it's like, no, not yet. Let's switch him to this position. Right. So I think between those 3 phases, I probably played all 3 linebacker phases. So how it was presented to me, oh, this is the best for you. You can learn more about the about the system, and oh, you need to develop here. You need to develop here. It was always one of those things. There's always a reason for me not to get that time. And for me, I feel like it was. You can still go out there and get some reps, go make some plays, and then still progress. If they want to progress you, they're going to progress you. It is what it is. So I was running with my hair on fire when it came to training and, practicing hard and stuff like that. And coming into my sophomore season, I think it was in the month of November of 2010, I'm going hard. And how I used to handle my frustration sometimes was to go harder in all aspects, right? So I'm going hard at school. I'm going hard in training. I'm going hard in practice. I'm going hard partying. I'm going hard, you know what I'm saying? Not partying all the time, but when I was partying, I'm the guy with the shirt off on stage. Like I'm partying. You know what I'm saying?
It was always one gear.
Yeah, it's like I'm going hard, right? So in retrospect, I do see like how I took out my frustration with not being able to play. Plus, I was in my hometown too. So I'm going to the grocery store and people know me from being a leader from high school. Sure. They see me in the newspapers in college, and they're like, Marvin, what's up? Are you playing? Why are you not playing? I'm like, it was just annoying. It was pissing me off, and I would take that and I would go and practice and run with it. So I know my sophomore year, I ended up tearing my ACL in my left leg. And I was like, when it happened, it felt like a little explosion in my knee, right? I remember it was on Sunday practice. It felt like it was in practice too, crazy. So I felt a little explosion in my knee. I go off to the side, and they tell me they do a little check. They say, okay, it might be this. They do that. They go through the whole process over a couple of days, and I just remember I had to wait. Finals were coming up. That's what it was. Finals were coming up. So I had to they say either you can wait and do your finals, or you're going to get your surgery immediately, and then you'll be having to go through that recovery process through your final. I was like, nah, let me do my finals. So I remember I was walking around with a brace for like at least a good month before I got my surgery. I was doing my prehab work, still staying with the team, motivating the team and stuff like that, being a good teammate. And then when I got my surgery, everybody was it was right around the same time of the bowl game. So they would go to the bowl game. After the bowl game, everybody went home. So I stayed in my dorm at the time, and I was rehabbing by myself. The team wasn't around me at that time. And I remember, so I had the training staff still there. They would come and drive me back and forth to appointments and whatever I had to go do, rehab on site. But there was a lot of downtime in my room by myself. And I remember it was just every day I had to do something to get better, to get my ability back. Because you go from running around, being strong, lifting, running and banging and stuff like that, to not having that same ability. And you got a leg that's the size of your arm. You got a leg that's regular size, because atrophy will break it down. They numb that nerve out, right? So break it down. You got to build it up. So every day it was like molding me in my mind. Like I have to do something to get better. I remember that experience.
Right.
I ended up coming back, getting bigger, faster, stronger. I was still playing linebacker. I was still had that recharge of getting bigger, faster, stronger. The weight room was my best friend. And then I ended up going to defensive end. I really wanted to rush the passer when I came in, but they were like, you're too small. But I ended up going to DN, getting bigger, fast, strong, going to DN, put my hand in the ground, and I was playing there. Fast forward to, so that's a big fast forward. We have to have another show to talk about.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say we're already overtime.
Yeah, but the big fast forward, the first day in the NFL, we'll get to that story. That's gonna be a good one. But the first day in the NFL, I tore my ACL on my right leg. Now you go through all of this, you know, figuring yourself out when you're young. You're an undersized football player. People don't even think you're going to be a D1 player. You make it to be a D1 player. You go through your injuries and coaching adversities and life adversities through college. You go over there and have a lights out pro day. You know, you get a chance to play more your senior year. You have a lights out pro day, benching 36 times on the bench press, 4.69 40, 10.5 broad, 32 or 34-inch vert, 419 shuttle, stuff like that. You have a great pro day. Then you get to, I think we had 28 or 30 scouts at the combine that year. We had like top 5 of the schools that had the most scouts there my graduating year. Then you don't get no calls. And then you start thinking about some of the adversities that you went through in college, and it starts to add up.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. You say, okay. Then you end up getting an opportunity to go play. You come in as in a rookie mini camp, 4 practices in 2 days. People are getting cut after each practice. You make it, right? You make it all the way to the end. And then they ask, hey, we need 6 players at the end of this camp to stay. We want to talk to you about your performance. And you be one of the 6. Right? Then, you know, there's pieces there. I can't get into it without getting into it, so I'm not even going to touch that, right? Then you go home. They say, hey, we think that you're a great player. We want to know what you're going to do. We're only signing 4 offensive people right now. But we have your eye on you. What are you going to do when you get back home? You go back home to Jersey, you start training, you go to the CFL. You go there for 3 months, essentially. You're training there, you're playing there. Then you get a call and say, hey, you're signed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And you come back down. First day, you tear your ACL. So you go through all of that, and then you hit that. My reaction, I never fell. It was a natural thing. I did not fall. The first thing I did when they told me that I tore my ACL on my right leg, I told them put some ice on it. Then the trainer's looking at me like, I'm like, you know what? Let me get a second. They're like, yeah, go ahead, take a second, blah, blah. Because they saw the whole process. They saw me at the rookie mini camp. They heard I got signed. They were excited for me to come down and perform, you know. I go over into the locker room and I call my high school coach, the one I just shot out, John Bazell. I call him. And he's a tough coach, but he's got a huge heart. Tough coach, but huge heart. So I pick up the phone. He says, hey, man, what's going on? He's all talking all fast. He's excited. I thought, oh, you should be at practice now. What's going on? I said, I told my ACL. All I hear was, like that. I just shut the phone.
Right.
Yeah, I just shut the phone. I ain't want to hear that pity. I ain't want to hear that nonsense because I knew what that breath meant from him. You see what I'm saying? I knew what that meant from him. So I remember I put the phone on the little toilet paper thing. I was sitting in the stall talking to him. And I walked to the mirror and I'm looking at myself in the mirror. And that mirror talk is something that I used to do every day. I still do it every day. I do it every time before I go out to practice. I do it every time before I go out to a game. Because I'm not talking to the physical. I'm talking to what I'm carrying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I'm looking at myself and I'm talking to myself and I say, what do you want to do? Are you done? And nothing in my body language was strong and stout. I said, are you going to keep going? Do you want to do it? I said, yeah. I gave myself 2 years to get back to the same mirror. That was my thing. And once I confirmed that, okay, we're going to still keep going, I was on autopilot. Something triggered into me, something snapped into me. It was like, okay, stay calm, go through what you need to go through, and then figure it out how things are going to move. If they're going to keep you here, if they're going to keep you on the team, if you're going back to Georgia, what the process is going to be. But then once I realized they were going to send me back, they kept me on IR. Once I realized they were going to send me back home, as soon as I was on that flight, I was in my notebook.
Yeah.
I was in my notebook. Just like I carry a notebook like this, I probably had about 20 of these since that day. And I was just filling my notebook, and it was a to-do list. And that whole recovery process, it wasn't too much of a big support system. My sister came up and took me to go get my I had to wait a month before I got surgery. Right? I had to wait a month before I got surgery. I remember my sister came up. She took me to go to HSS up in New York to get my surgery. She drove me down. She was with me for a couple of days. And then I was by myself for a little while. And I remember driving myself to rehab with the blue brace on. Like,
right.
you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to miss a day. I'm not going to miss a day. You know what I mean? I'm not going to miss a day. I'm not going to miss a day. And
absolutely.
There's so many things I can dive into in that process that can give you what you need for this show. Like that.
Well, I mean, it's more of a time thing at this point, right?
Yeah,
so I'm thinking we have a Marvin Booker part 2 because there's some really good stuff that we're just about to get into that I think is important for people to hear and understand. Right. And part of that fuel comes, all of these experiences, the pressure, the negativity, the distractions, the injury, all of this stuff. I mean, part of that fuel comes from, how you protect your mind and your space and how you move forward and through it. So, I mean, just simply due to time, I mean, you carried all of that strength off the field when you got hurt and felt in field into other things. Okay. And we'll get into some more when we come back for part 2, but you've built now you've built a fitness center, a financial company, insurance. I mean, what's driving you now and what legacy do you want to leave? And we can get into more of this again. And then, if you had to leave people with one code that they can remember, or one thing that they can start with today and focus on to benefit their true identity, their true self, and their true path forward, go.
Okay, so Booker Fitness Performance LLC. I help athletes, fitness lovers, and senior citizens reach their desired fitness goals through a holistic approach of mind, body, and spirit. That's a fitness company that I've built through my real life experiences, as I'm sharing with you the things that I've done to get me from point A to point B, physically, mentally, and spiritually, right? So I give that information, that wisdom to my clients who are looking to reach their fitness goals. They come in thinking it's a physical thing. They leave out knowing that it's something completely different and it's transferable to other aspects of their life. Excellent. Now you have Ace Advisors LLC, which is me as a insurance broker and risk management specialist. So I work alongside PowerX Insurance, ran by Tamelia Thomas out of Lawrenceville, Georgia. I'm licensed in property and casualty, so I'm able to go through her and work alongside of her to get appointed with carriers that can support professional liability, general liability, business risk, business owners protection for the business, right? And you go on the life side, I'm working alongside of PHP Agency, which is People Helping People, and they're FMO, a financial marketing organization that directs their agents, that connects their agents directly to carriers to help them market their products for a client like you. So I can service you and make a portfolio for you to best fulfill your needs, right? To protect your legacy, accumulate wealth, and protect your assets as well, right? Gotcha. Those two pieces to me came through real life experiences. Obviously, the fitness side, that speaks for itself. Right. Financially, I've been up and down. I've had a lot, I've lost a lot, I've made a lot, traditionally and not traditionally. But in order to protect those funds and be taught financial education that is not in the African American community or the communities of color. It's damn near, I can't even say it's safeguarded, because they're not teaching in high schools either. There's all people who don't know about financial literacy, right?
Exactly. It's not even about color. I mean,
Right, it's not.
estate planning, insurance, investments, not taught in high school. None of it.
Right, all of that stuff. So that allows me to connect myself to the community and help people protect themselves in the way that they didn't know they needed, right?
Right.
So moving forward, those are two things that I'm building. And you said a code.
Yeah, like,
Yeah,
like
exactly
something that you can leave, a principle, a code, or
yeah.
something that carried you through every barrier and every breakthrough to keep moving.
What I'm learning is I think I got something in me genetically, that's passed down to me. That's one thing in the physical. I believe in God. I believe in
Spiritual.
spirits. I believe in spirits. I believe in universal law, right? I believe that there are energies around us that can influence, pull, and guide, right? But without getting into all of that, when we're coming into self-mastery, into yourself, into being centered, it's very important. I call it your own recipe. We can start there. Everybody has their own recipe of what keeps them going. Everybody has that experience, right? You can be in the experience of a flow state. You got your thing. I like to wake up at this time. I like to eat my breakfast at this time. This gives me energy and I like to do whatever, meditate, whatever that recipe is. Everybody has their own recipe. Make sure that the people, places, and things that start coming into your life as you gain success or as you fall from success or whatever, make sure that that recipe always tastes good and it's the way you want it. Don't start letting a person come into your life and starts changing your recipe of what got you to where you at. And now that you're not there anymore or moving to you know that you should be able to move. Now you're looking around, you don't understand why. It's because that person's not for you.
Exactly. Like somebody going, hey, I think you should do this or get better at that or whatever. Follow what makes your heart sing, like we were talking about before, and then put a plan little by little and follow that. That energy will create the purpose, the path, everything. I've learned that in my own life as well. Cool. Perfect, man. So, I mean, Marvin, that was all powerful. And like I said, we'll do a part 2, man. We have to.
For sure.
Thank you for sharing your story, your code with us, your recipe. It was like watching a highlight reel of grit and greatness, really. and you brought the honesty, the fire, and the kind of wisdom you don't always hear in pro sports or in life. Thank you. Okay. And so for everyone listening, if this conversation made you think, laugh, or maybe realize your own mindset, you started to feel, okay, maybe you need to tune up, share it, feel into it, lean into it. Think 2% better. What can I do better for myself that makes me feel better? Okay, that's not selfish. Okay, send it to athletes, a coach, or someone who's been stuck on the sidelines too long. And life is a sport, so there's a sideline there. Okay, and Marvin, before we wrap up, where can people follow you or connect with you?
MB, like my initials, Marvin Booker, the legend, on Instagram. Booker Fitness _ on Instagram for my fitness business. Ace Advisors _ for my insurance business. Those are the 3 places that you can find me on Instagram. Bookerfitness.com is where you can reach me there. And on Ace Advisors _ there's a link in the bio where you can go there, click, and see if you can get a quote for yourself if you need any type of protection for you and your family. And there's one question that you asked me, the legacy part. I have twins now. I got one girl and one boy. And
awesome.
They're here in the world. They mean a lot to me. So everything that I'm doing now is building so I can have better relationships with them and to make sure that their future is secure moving forward. So all of this stuff is definitely important for me to share so it can be
part of their recipe. Right?
Yeah.
Hey, man, I didn't even know that. I have twins too. We just learned something. Yeah, right. Mine are 31, but
okay, yeah. So yeah, they're a little bit older, but yeah, mine are 2.5. But yeah, they're important.
Yeah, Perfect. Good stuff. Great stuff.
Thanks for having me. Thank you.
And yeah, absolutely, dude. Thanks for coming on. And for anyone, listening, you can find me on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram at Championship Mindset One. Look for the black logo with the white mountains. You see them on the screen below, the different places you can connect with me. If you're ready to stop guessing at mindset and actually train it, head to freedomandhealing.com and schedule a free discovery call. Mindset is the foundation of everything. Elevate your mindset, elevate your game. Let's upgrade it together. See you next time.